Welcome to the weekly review of the ASX, and what we're looking at is the different sectors of the Australian market. So we break it down into the industries, the sectors, and then we also look at it from a market capitalisation perspective. We want to know who's leading the market and where the real gains are coming from. So what we do is have a look over here, and we're going to look on the left-hand side in a second. Really what we're doing is using this to filter through to the other aspects that we look at in the market, where we're surfacing the leading market thematics that we talk about in shares in play. And this is what we do on Finer Market Points, where we're connecting those leading market themes and the top performing companies so that you can have better trading. Now, if you'd like, you can like the video, which will support the channel. You can subscribe for updates, and then you can also comment below to let us know what you're using, what your indicators are, and also let us know whether you prefer the black screen that you can see here, or we're actually just going to change it to the color scheme to the light one to tell us which charts are easier to see. So if you comment below, let us know. Personally, I prefer the black, so I'll be going back there, but if it's easy to see in the white, let us know. Now, starting off on the left-hand side, we'll move this out of the way. We do want to have a look at these different sectors in the Australian market and how they performed over the year. Now, we do know the top performing here one, we do have information technology. Little surprise there when we had Afterpay coming into that ranks and really pushing that up over the last 12 months. This really hasn't changed too much, as you can see here on the far right-hand side from last time we looked at it. We are seeing a good, solid climb coming here from the metals and miners, and we'll have a look at those in a bit more detail in a second, from the small, mid, and then top 300 segments of that market. What we want to do is then come over here, we'll have a quick look in the 30-day to get an idea or a snapshot of how it's performing in the month. Let's make this smaller for you. Over in the month. And then we'll also have a look at it on the 10-day period so we can see the more recent trends of what's happening. Now, we do see that technology has been coming down, underperforming as the metals and miners have been coming up. And the other one here is probably the metals and mining, where is it? Materials sector. So metals and mining, materials, strong performers. And then also a decent gain coming up here. So we've got XXJ Financials taking out of the REITs, so taking the property out. We're seeing the banks be strong, so that is good positive movements. What we want to see now is we're going to jump into the 10 days and see how that performance is. Terrible performances. What's this one here? Energy, okay, yep, fallen off a cliff and then has been recovering in the last 2 days this week. What we have been seeing, good performance here and then flatline coming back into it. What's that space there? Healthcare. Healthcare, interesting. Okay, let's dig this one up because we want to see where the gains are coming from the healthcares. So within these performances of the top 200, here are the top segments. So we'll zoom that in so you can see the company names. Let's see how they performed. So where are the best performers coming from in the month? Okay, Fisher & Paykel Health putting on 12%. Let's zoom that in again for you. Looking at this column here, Fisher & Paykel Health 12%, PolyNovo, PNV 8.9, Clinical Pharmaceuticals 8.8, ResMed 8, Pro Medicus 8. Okay, so good strong performances. The heavyweights here, CSL only 3.35, Sonic 3.4, but that's what we're seeing this performance here on the turquoise line that we've highlighted in the top left. That's been a good strong performer over the 10 days. So we are looking for opportunities in that healthcare space. Healthcare is a difficult one to trade because when you do have, in this perspective, because when you do have the heavyweights trading, we also see performances skyrocket from the biotechs, and you don't necessarily see the top leading the bottom or the bottom leading the top. They're very news driven and very specific on the individual company, so that's very news heavy on the smaller end of the market, and it's hard to see these heavyweights trading filter through to those trading opportunities for the more responsive and leveraged movements of the share prices of small micro caps. Now we'll move over, we'll have a look. So we're seeing that healthcare has been strong. We have seen the financials, the properties be strong, and metals and mining. So that's good to see in this regard. Now we'll have a look at it from a market capitalisation perspective, because what we saw there on healthcare is we have had some good performances, not necessarily from the largest capitalised like CSL, but there have been performances nonetheless. Here's quarterly, that's not going to do us much good for now. Here on the yearly, massive performance. This hasn't really changed from the emerging companies index right up there at the top performance. That's definitely the best. Then we come down here, mid caps, small caps, then we're in top 500 or all odds, and then you're in top 100, and then you're in the XJO, the 200 here. Not much change there. We want to jump straight in and have a look on these 10 days, see how that's performing. So what's the top performer here? We've got 20 leaders. So that'll be the banks. We've seen good, strong performances from banks. Historically, we do see at this time of year, they're about to report in a week. They do have a good record of a strong March and a strong April for two reasons. One, we're ramping up into the reporting season for a lot of the banks. And we do have that creep coming in, the 45-day holding rule that we do have in Australia for franking credits that come before the dividend or after the dividend. You need to hold them for 45 days, including the dividend date or ex-dividend date. So that's one reason to see them ramp up. We also come off the back of the February reporting season that we had earlier in the year. A lot of the dividends are announced, and then when we do have those announcements, they take normally 6-8 weeks for the money to hit the bank accounts. That leads us into March and April for the pay dates. A lot of cash hitting investors' bank accounts, and then they want to do what's the harvesting strategy. They take the money that they've received from the dividends and deploy that into the next dividend-paying company. There's a high concentration in the February and August, the main reporting seasons in Australia. So we do have a lot of dividends coming then, and then a dry spell, which we do have coming up now into the current reporting season for the banks, and then they will be paying towards the end of the financial year, the start of the financial year. So that's an opportunity, and we do see that really push through on the banks. So that's part of the reason we've seen the financials stronger that we highlighted before, and we do see the 20 leaders being outperforming over the last few days. Seasonality, that is what happens. The worst performing one here, what are we looking at there? Small caps. Okay, so that'll be interesting. We'll have a look at where the small caps are, where they've been underperforming, and how that's been coming through. Now, what's interesting, we'll leave that chart there. We'll come over to this one here on the top right. This really has a look at industrials and mining companies. So what we want to do is break down the two and see, okay, well, how have the miners or the industrials been behaving, and then can we get further insights into one area particularly being stronger, whether it's small cap, mid cap, top 100, how's that standing out? We don't see too many standouts here because let's just run through the charts from the bottom. XKI, so let's move this one out of the way as well. We come back here. So your XKI, that's your 300 industrials, and then we move up the ranks. The second best performer is most likely going to be industrials right there. That's the XJOs in the market. So the only ones that have underperformed are the top 300 industrials. The rest have outperformed the market or the ASX 200. The mid-cap resources, XMR, there's down there, which is surprising because we did see the mid-caps over here as being some of the best performers just behind the emerging companies. So definitely the smaller cap resources have been performing better. We jump straight up to the top. XMT, what's that? That's a mid-cap industrials. So big differential here within that mid-cap index. We're seeing the industrials outperforming the metals and miners, even though the metals and miners have been one of the best performers on the market that we saw over here on the left. So that is surprising to see that. Clearly, the heavyweights in the Australian market have been doing okay, and that's pushing up the main index we saw here on the left. But on the right, it's telling us that the mid-caps are having a bit of trouble. So let's have a look here and see where these best performers have come from. So we're taking XMT, and I'm going to grab a list here, see the constituents. Yeah, let's find their best performers. Let's bring this over so you can see. Clear that. Let's find the best performers over the month. Right, Cleanaway, REA Group. Here's that column there for the performances. Maybe make that bigger for you. WiseTech Global, Carsales, Reece, Boral, Altium, Fisher and Paykel Health. How the weighting within these indices really helps drive and see if there is a large cap that's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting or whether this is evenly dispersed over these companies here that have been the top performers. Let's find this normally to the right. There it is, market cap. Okay, so we have the largest at the top. Let's grab, say, the top 8 or 10. See how they're performing. These names are familiar from last week. Let's clear this one out. It's REA, WiseTech, Carsales, Reece, Boral, Altium, Fisher and Paykel Health, and Seek. They've been the best performers. If we do see the best performers also being the heavyweight, that tends to drive it. There we go. So what have we got? Market capitalisation size, big gains here. REA Group, Fisher and Paykel Health, 12, Reece, 14. Okay, so the heavyweights in this mid-cap industrials have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting, so we have been seeing them work together. That can be a thematic that we are going to look at and trade possibly. So we'll look at that in a different video and different series in shares in play to really surface those opportunities. But this is telling us, okay, we've got some industrials here. What's the thematic behind them? This is where we go away and do research to see how the other cross-references that we're looking at, how the other aspects are really drilling through to performance that we're seeing and coming through again and again and again on these top performers. So we'll get rid of that list. We'll remove those. We do see, that's it. We've seen materials over here on the left, and then we've got industrials on the right. So the mid-cap industrials have really been doing the best performing over the last year. And that's really, and then we're going to jump down and have a look at this on the last 10 days and see where those gains are coming from. Oh, that's right. With data, we've got to create that one specifically. Let's go. We're going to go daily. Need to move this one back to daily to get that data. Daily, let's go for temporary. 2020, let's go 2021, and we'll take last week, give it a couple of extra days, add some weekends in. There we go. Right, so the best performers, what have we got here? XMT. So again, that's still the top performers. The mid-cap industrials are still the best. Let's look for concerns. XSR, small cap resources, I believe that is. Small cap resources, so they're down the most over the last 10 days. There's area for concern there. Little surprise to those who have been trading the small cap resources. We have seen a few that have been in favour come down and be on the nose, and a lot of selling come in and hit those. So that's one way we're looking at the markets, and then we'll come back and circle through with surfacing more leaders through finer market points and the shares in play, looking at the top 6 within the specific thematic. Again, if you like the video, it's going to support the channel. You can click subscribe so you get these updates, and comment below. Let us know how you're viewing the market, and also let us know whether you're preferring, let's get rid of that one, what we're going to prefer here on the color scheme, whether it's light or dark. There's light, you've seen dark. Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you again next time.